Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another video. And today, like I said in my last video, I'm going to combine the Rob Zombie Halloweens. So this is a duology he directed in 2007 and 2009. And I have to say, these two might be new favorites. I mean, I've always liked the first one that he did, but this is going to be my full and complete thoughts on both movies. So let's get started with Halloween 2007. And this starts off with the Myers family, and Michael is 10 years old. He lives with his abusive, drunk stepdad and his mother, which is a stripper, and his oldest sister, Judith. And what I love about this movie is the fact that Michael Myers has an origin story. And it's really messed up. I mean, it starts off with the stepdad being like very rednecky and just very abusive to everybody. I mean, of course, Michael hates him. And this dude's like a very vile dude. Of course, it's a Rob Zombie character, so you know he's going to be vile anyway. And then his mother is played by Sherry Moon Zombie, of course, because it's Rob Zombie's wife, and he has to incorporate her in all of his movies. But anyway, yeah, she's pretty much like the only person that loves Michael. His sister and his stepdad really don't like him. So you spend like 45 minutes in this whole first half talking about Michael's origins growing up, and you do have his murder of his stepdad and his sister, and it's very brutal. I mean, he duct tapes his dad to like his chair and slits his throat. And then you get an homage to the original Halloween where Michael disguises himself as a ghost. Or is that later? That's later in this movie. Well, Judith's boyfriend just happened to have Michael Myers' mask, and Michael got the mask and then stabbed her to death brutally. Like, I mean, I think they said about like 17 times. And then Michael gets the boyfriend and bashes his head in quite graphically. This whole Manson-style murder is just brutal. It's definitely the most vicious that Michael is. So, after all that, of course, he's sent to a sanitarium, and he meets Loomis, which is now played by Malcolm McDowell. And I do gotta admit, I do like him in this movie. But he's nowhere near Donald Pleasance. And, yeah, this just literally leads up to when he's a grown adult and he escapes. And then the last part of this movie is almost like a shot-for-shot remake of Halloween, but shortened. But I can probably go on forever about this movie, but I don't really want to do that. So I really do enjoy this. I usually don't gravitate much to remakes, but this one is a really, really solid one. And I think I'm going to go ahead and give it a B plus. I'm giving it a B plus because there's some dialogue that you can cut out because it gets a little much and a little cringy at times. But other than that, this is a very solid movie. And I know a lot of people have hate for both of these movies, but I actually really do like them. And I almost forgot to mention Daryl Sabara's death is that's literally what sets off Michael. That's technically his first death because he just beats the bully up with like a stick, and it's unrelentingly brutal. And one last thing I would like to mention, this has a killer soundtrack. I mean, it's drenched in like 70s classic rock. I mean, the movie starts off with God of Thunder, and then you have Love Hurts playing throughout the movie, and that's Deborah Meyer's stripper song, and it's just glorious. So, those are my thoughts on 2007 Halloween. Which brings me to Halloween 2, 2009. I haven't seen this movie in years. I probably watched it one other time after theaters, and I have to say, watching it this time, I actually really appreciate it more. Where to get started with this one? Well, let's begin with the aftermath. So Laurie escapes Michael's chaos after shooting him in the head, and then you see her walking down a lonely, dark road, bloodied and tattered. And then Sheriff Brackett comes and picks her up and gets her to a hospital. And these first 15-20 minutes are kind of like the original Halloween 2, where Laurie Strode goes to like the hospital. But that's the only thing that relates to the original Halloween 2. After all that, this movie is Rob Zombie's vision. And it's a fever dream. And it's very weird. Because there's a lot of symbolic imagery to it, because there's like a universal theme that talks about like a white horse, and that's like the bringer of death. So Michael is of course snapped at this point. He actually starts seeing his mom and his younger self, and he wants to try to get Laurie to join them. So throughout this whole movie, Laurie is just on the brink of insanity, and she doesn't know if she'll survive or just kill herself. I mean, it's actually a really depressing character arc for her. She shuts Annie out, which I forgot to mention, that Annie actually survived the first Halloween, and she's back in here. But they both live together, but Laurie isolates herself and finds a couple new friends, and then she finds Annie in the bathroom, dead, very, very brutally. Then, of course, Sheriff Brackett comes in and discovers his baby girl dead. It's one of the most heartbreaking scenes in this movie. I mean, it's really well acted by Brad Dourif. and my God, you feel the agony towards it. But moving on, Laurie actually sees like a psychologist to help her with her depression, and she's played by Margot Kidder. I almost said Robbie. But of course she shuts her out, and Laurie just accepts her fate, and she goes with Michael. Which, another thing I gotta mention, Michael barely wears his mask in here. So it's kind of weird. And this is the unrated director's cut. Michael says one word in this entire movie, and that's die, when he kills off Loomis at the very end. This ending, oh my God. It's a fever dream, and after rewatching this, it makes sense. So Michael kidnaps Laurie and takes her to a barn, and then the police, or SWAT, well, I wouldn't say it's SWAT, it's probably more like the police, they come in and shoot Michael dead, but also Laurie Strode dead. So the way this ends, there's like a long white hallway, and it just gets longer and longer. And at the end of that hallway is Deborah Myers and her white horse. And then you get a close-up with Laurie smiling. At first I had no idea what that ending meant, but Laurie died, and she accepted her fate in the afterlife. Whoa, in the afterlife. But after rewatching this, I really do enjoy it more, and I'm gonna give this a B. I mean, really underrated movie. But of course, it's not as good as some of these other movies, but it's really, really good. And not to mention, he's more vicious in this one than the first one. So, those are my thoughts on the Rob Zombie Halloweens. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll have 2 or 3 more videos coming out this week. I'll have my book haul, the movies I watched in September, and possibly a Smile review. So look forward to all those videos. I'll catch you guys in the next one. And then I also got some prepping to do for my October videos. Lots of stuff happening very, very soon. So just stay tuned. Alright guys, that's the end of this video. See you in the next one. Adios. Peace.